It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank Studios here in New York City, near the brand new Hudson Yards. We're not really even supposed to, honestly, we're not in the neighborhood, but we're close. They're trying to sort of extend it, but it is cool looking. Mark, have you checked it out? It's cool. I went over and took a little walk down there. Anyway, this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. That is what Jessica from New Jersey did. Hi, Jessica. What can we do for you?
Hi, Jill. Thanks for taking my call today.
Sure.
I wanted to reach out actually about retirement planning, not just for myself, but also for my father. As somebody who does not have a lot of money saved up for retirement at this point, I am trying my best to prepare, as maybe you could say a good daughter, to make sure that I can help him out when he gets to full retirement and stops working.
You're so nice. That is lovely. It's sort of a weird thing. Like when parents, sometimes they'll say to me, I have to save so much for my kids, or I have to do everything for my kids. And then I say, well, what happens if you don't have enough money? Then your kids are going to have to take care of you. And no one ever contemplates that. So how is it that your dad got into a situation where you feel like he's a little bit in a precarious financial situation?
Right. So the good news of all this is that actually the lessons he's learned through his life, I'm taking into consideration for my planning. But at this point, he's 63 and a half years old, so he's looking ahead to when it makes sense to retire and collect Social Security. He works full-time and does have benefits. However, there is no 401k. There is no retirement savings.
How much does he make right now?
He makes around, I think it's between $30,000 to $40,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll say 35-ish. And is he able to support himself on that $35,000 a year?
It's close.
Do you
It's
help
tight.
him out?
Sometimes, yes.
Would you think that if he had $3,000 a month coming in on a consistent basis that he'd be okay? Or is it when something big happens, you have to then hop in and help out?
It's usually when something big happens.
Okay. And he's got no savings, right?
Not really. I mean, maybe a few thousand in terms of an emergency fund, but not anything that is planned for use later.
Where does he live?
He lives in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. And rents or owns?
Rents, but is actually in the process of owning.
Really?
So that's an example.
How
that's
so?
An example of a scenario where I've helped with the down payment so that he can have you could say, secure place to stay.
Okay. So tell me about the house that he's buying.
It's a condo.
Mm-hmm.
He is able to finance the mortgage himself minus the down payment.
So how much did you have to put down?
About 20.
Okay. And that's cheaper than renting for him?
It's not cheaper, but it's just because of some other lifestyle and preferences. That's what we decided was best for him right now.
Okay. I gotcha. And so you put the 20 down. Are you going to own this place and he's going to live there?
It'll be in his name, but for all intents and purposes, it will eventually go to me.
Are you the only child?
Yes.
Ah, okay. That makes it easier to understand how that, for all intents and purposes, comment. And the deed will say his name. Are you co-signing on the note?
No, I'm not planning to.
What's the game plan for him? You said he's 63 and a half. Is he healthy? Can he keep working? Is that going to be okay?
Yes, he's planning to keep working at least until the point that he is full, I guess maybe 69 or 70, if everything with his health is fine. There's no known health issues. There's not anything that we at least need to address or take care of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's actually considering taking Social Security or retiring a bit early and still working for a period of time.
I wouldn't do
so
that.
he can
Hold
get-
on a second. I wouldn't do that. Let me just hop in here. If he delays Social Security, his benefit will keep accruing, and it accrues to approximately a benefit of an extra 8% that he would get at age 70. And I think that is a guarantee, and he should. So I would not take Social Security early. I would let that benefit accrue. He will maximize it at age 70. And he doesn't have to stop at age 70, by the way. That's another thing. He could keep working if he's healthy and happy, because the longer he works, the better it is. It's just that your benefit maxes out at 70. So if possible, we want him to wait till 70. That's how he's going to get the best bang for his Social Security buck. What is your financial situation?
My situation is I work in pharmaceutical. I have a salary right now of around $142 per year. I do contribute to my 401k. I've got about $180 saved so far.
That's great.
And, I now am at the point for sure where I can max out the contributions. And, I don't own a house. Not really sure how long I'm going to stay in this area of the country.
How much do you have in savings?
After this house goes through, I'll still have around 35 or 40, closer to 40.
Great. That's perfect. Okay, so here's the thing with when it comes to saving for an aging parent who's in your dad's situation. There's not much more you need to do except to try to keep some liquidity, because you know that like at any given moment something could happen, right? And so you're gonna have to do that. I wouldn't worry about buying a long-term care policy, because frankly, God forbid something bad happened to your dad, he would qualify for full assistance because he doesn't have assets. And
Right.
if you had to turn around and sell the condo because he could no longer live there on his own, you would do that. In other words, there's not a spouse to worry about. I guess the only thing that I would say is that until you figure out kind of what your next step is, I would keep a little bit extra liquidity, more than I would for, how old are you?
32, 33.
Ah,
Just
don't
turned 33.
forget it. Happy birthday. More than I would keep a little bit, probably more in your sort of liquid accounts than you might normally think about for a 33-year-old, because you do have this obligation. Look, on some level, I think that the news on this is not nearly so bad or bleak, because when he retires at age 70, he's going to have a good Social Security benefit. And, if that plus a few bucks from you can help him, allow him to live a decent life, that's great. If for some reason he could work longer so he could claim his Social Security benefit at 70 and keep working, all the better. So, I mean, the one thing as you do the closing and you think about this condo, I will say that I really don't think it's a great idea for you to co-sign on this loan. So that would be my number one precaution. The other thing is that I also assume that, does he have a will and a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy?
I know he has a will. I'm not sure about the other two, but he is pretty conscious of those things.
Good. Because I think that because you're the only child and you don't live near him, you should have some document that basically says, I can make any financial decision for him if something bad were to happen, and I could make any medical decision for him. Just double check with him that he has those documents. Okay, we have so much more fun ahead of us. If you would like to get on the air, just send an email, ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And during the break, why don't you hop onto the website, JillOnMoney.com. There you can buy the book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. We'll be right back.
(401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, this is where you have to send an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. That's all you have to do. Now, we were talking right before we went to the break. I told you to go onto the website. The website is just getting better and better. That's because Mark's running it. It is Financial Literacy Month. It's April. And I also want to just give a plug for a couple of things. Here's a nice confluence of things. It's Financial Literacy Month. and it is also college acceptance month. So you should go check out Beth Kobliner's website, bethkobliner.com. She's the one who basically created the whole Consumer Financial Protection Bureau website that it helps people talk to their kids about money. There's a million different websites out there. I just think this is so great because they actually give you the background of what you need to do and how you can talk about money with your kids. So great. So that's something to check out at consumerfinance.gov. Talk to your kids about money. And then Beth's site, bethkobliner.com, she's got this great part of the site that's called We Need to Talk College. So there's another idea for you. Okay? Isn't that smart? Okay. Let's go and take a call. Next up, we have Megan, who's on the line from North Carolina. Hi, Megan. What can we do for you?
Hi, Jill. Thanks very much. I have a bit of a problem. I have over $100,000 in debt to pay off, and I just crunched the numbers a few weeks ago because I think I was trying to avoid it a little bit, and it kind of snuck up on me, and now I'm kind of panicking. Basically because I'm also in transition between two careers right now as well. So I was wondering if you could help me.
I sure can. So let's talk a little bit. So is this just student debt?
Well, I've got $82,000 in student loans, $8,600 on a car loan, and then $14,000 I owe to my mom because she's paying for a continuing education class to switch careers.
What career were you going for, and what are you switching into? So where were you, and what's happening now?
So I actually lived in New York City for 7 years, and for the first 2 years I got a master's degree, which is where most of this debt is coming from, in art history. And for 5 years I tried to make it in the museum world in New York, and it just was not happening. My average salary there was $35,000 a year. So
stop it.
I just could not make a dent in my loans. It just wasn't happening. And so through a lot of research and a lot of encouragement from friends and family, I decided to take a coding boot camp. And the reason I'm in North Carolina is because my mother lives here and said, come and live with me and do it here so you can save some money.
I love your mom. She's so practical.
Yeah, she's great. She's a CFO, actually, so I really love her. Yeah. And so I'm living off savings right now, but I kind of am a number person. I go over my numbers all the time, so that's why I looked at this and I said, I need to call Jill.
Okay. What do you have in savings right now?
I've got $4,500 left.
Oh, brother. What's happening with the student loan debt? Is this mostly federal student loans?
It's all federal student loans.
Okay. Well, that's good. Have you done any sort of deferment or loan consolidation?
Well, I think my loans are consolidated. They're on myfedloan.org, so they're all right there for me to pay. And it's in forbearance right now, but I am making a payment of $150 a month just to try and keep it at bay. But it doesn't really seem to be doing anything because the interest just keeps piling on.
Yeah, I got you. So now in forbearance, but it will come out of forbearance when you're done, right? With the schooling.
In June is when the forbearance ends.
Okay. And at that time in June, what will your payment be monthly? Do you know?
I think I was on an income-based repayment plan, and if my salary is what I think it will be, I think it'll be around $300.
Is the game plan to basically keep paying at that $300 level, or could you pay more? If I guess the only way you could really pay more is if you continue to live with mom. So what is that? Okay.
Exactly.
And she's cool with that?
Yes, she is. And I guess it basically depends on where I would get a job, because I've kind of told the recruiter I will go anywhere. I just want a job.
Right. Although, but you would prefer, prefer to stay in North Carolina so you can live with mom. Okay. So the loan to mom, is that something that is accruing interest? How are you guys?
No.
Just like you want to, I want to pay that off because mom's been so great.
Yeah, exactly. But I think she would give me some leeway to pay down my other debts first, and maybe pay her a payment of, $50 or something.
Just like a token, just to know, like, hey, I'm doing this, Mom.
Yes.
Okay. The car loan, what about that? What's the interest rate on that?
It's only 2.4 because I'm with a credit union, and it's a great credit union, and I got a loan through them. So
great. Okay, perfect. Obviously, you need to be paying more than $300 a month to get this thing really paid off. So, even if you had a job that was, say, $60,000 at some remote location that would require you moving versus $50,000 where you are, it's still maybe better off to stay where you are, because how are you going to pay, I don't know where you're looking, but, rents can be very different. So I would really get going and make sure, I would encourage the recruiter to say, I know I said anywhere, and it will be anywhere, because obviously you'll go anywhere versus not having a job at all. Right. That said, I really think you should try to stay with Mom. It's going to take you a while to pay down this note, right? All of this, right? Obviously what you need to do is to get really tight on the budget. And Mark's making a suggestion here, affair.
Okay.
So here's another idea. Mom, if she had the money, you could say to her, like, look, why don't we just pay off the car loan and pay off a chunk of the student loan debt, and then I'll just make payments to you overall for that and get a little relief there. Because obviously, what you want to try to do is lower the interest amount, but also lower the corpus of what you owe. If you don't get $100,000 from her, then you're going to just have to do what everyone else does when you have debt, which is take a look at all the debt you have and start paying down highest interest to lowest interest. I bet that student loan debt is probably at 6%-ish.
They're like 7% and 8%.
Yeah, like that's a real number. So, I mean, even if Mom had some money in the bank and you said, hey, you know what? If you got money in the bank, I'll pay you 4% because the bank's earning 1%. And instead of paying 8% on these loans. I mean, the reality is that it's just not going away fast. And the only way to get it done fast is if someone has a lump sum. If you don't have a lump sum, then you're stuck with exactly what you're doing, which is I'm going to pay off my highest interest first. I'm going to accelerate it. But all of this is going to be predicated on you being able to be employed and live with Mom. That's for real. I think that unless Mom wants to kind of help you get on a game plan, maybe do something a little bit more creative where you can try to cut down the amount of interest you owe, whether it's to her or, obviously get this big chunk paid. And maybe this is something you just start talking to her like, okay, if I were a business problem, how would we solve this problem? Because honestly, Megan, if you're just not going to pay this off for like 20 years, if you're making $50,000 a year. Just not.
I know.
So, and if she has the money, I mean, she wants to help you out. That's why she gave you the $14,000.
Yeah. That's why she's letting me live with her.
Right. So she wants to help you out. So just say to her, look, here's a teaching moment, Mom. Like, what would you do if you got a business problem? This is a bad loan. Maybe you just say, hey, look, I talked to this person. We're kind of working through. I mean, look, I just think that for you to battle out from underneath this, you're going to have to take a bit of a leap here. And maybe she will help you with that. We'll get back to all of your questions as soon as we pay a few bills. During the break, again, you should be bookmarking JillOnMoney.com, but why not go there and sign up for the free weekly newsletter? It's great. Check it out. All right, we will be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Have you checked out our sister podcast? It's called, wait for it, Jill on Money. I know, so clever. You can get the Jill on Money podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Stitcher, radio.com, Google Play, anywhere else you find your favorite podcasts. Are there other places to find them? Where else? SoundCloud anymore or not? Are they done? Or okay. Anyway, send us a question. We really would love to hear from you. Also, we're building the Jill on Money financial glossary. So if you've got an idea of some terms that you would like defined, send us a note. Make it subject glossary. Subject line glossary. Just put something down that you want defined, and I'll make Mark do it. You know, because I can do that. I did the first pass through. We'll try to keep building it. Kind of fun. As I was going through here, here's a couple things to note. Not a lot of financial terms that begin with X, so I'm cheating. And for X, I'm using X dividend, even though it's really EX. But I'm going to go with X. I don't know. Also, not a lot of Ks. I decided to use K1. That's about it. Lots of I's. But send us your notes. We love that. Okay? So let's get to some of your emails, because these are the things that we want to do. We want to help you out. And here is a question from Jen, who saw a session recently that I did about a corporate event where I was doing a little book promo. And she says, I rolled over my 403B into a retirement annuity. I was persuaded because they basically told me that I wouldn't lose money when the market falls. I would still like to make money when the S&P is going up. And then there are all these other benefits, like if I die, my loved ones get double my account amount, and when I retire, I get an annual amount that is untaxed. It all sounded so good. When I looked at the 1-year mark, I did still make some money, but I was not doing as well as I did in my previous years with my 403B, which I'd always had a return of about 13%. She attached the brochure of the product that she did purchase. Was it a bad idea? I'm 37. I'm not really young. I work at a nonprofit. My income isn't that great. Makes me want to change my career, LOL. So what she did was she purchased something called a single premium deferred annuity. And the annuity that was sold to her, I'm going to quickly just look at the not the prospectus, the brochure, because I don't think it's actually a prospectus. And here's how it starts. It starts with all their features and what it is. And I don't know, there's a lot of filling up of water glasses as their symbol of what? Filling up your retirement account, I guess. Something like that. Yeah. Time, accumulation, withdrawal, guaranteed withdrawal. Then it says hypothetical, like, well, this is what would happen. Here, and then there's a big portion about, how does this work? There's a bonus schedule. How does this other thing work? All these other different breakthrough, how you can withdraw your money, annuity payouts. Oh, okay. So let's start here. Let me start on page 12 of this, which is where I like to start. Here we have the first part of the fees. So the first thing you have to know is when you buy an annuity, you have something called a surrender charge. And that means that if you pull money out, you then have to pay a fee on that. So in Jen's case, policy year number 1, what happens? You blow out of this contract, you got to pay 12%. And so that's that. Now, if you pull out, you can pull out 10% of the money subsequently, but anything above that 10% surrender charge. So the surrender charge is over in 13 short years. Oh my God, that makes me insane. All right. So then there are all these riders, and they don't talk about that. And then they say you die. That's all that. That's it. Okay. Guess what? in here, what's fascinating in this whole thing, guess what the fees are, where they are? No, there are no fees listed anywhere. There are no other fees that are listed. So what that means is, which makes me want to pull my hair out, is that the fees for this product are not listed in this brochure. They're probably in the legal document called the prospectus. And so what they did in this brochure, which is why it really makes you want to kill yourself if you are in the business that I am in, which is looking at all these products all the time. This is why people can't stand salesmen and saleswomen, because you present a document like this and you don't say what the fees are. So here's the deal, Jennifer. I think the reason why you did not do as well with this product last year than in previous years is the market was down. That said, I am almost 100% sure that the fees in this product were not worth it. One thing is that because you have it already, I don't think you should change it, because now you're in this terrible situation where you'd get this surrender charge. So you're kind of stuck with this. That said, if you want to know when you should do something, it's probably in 4 or 5 years from now. You kind of made this choice already. It's a drag. I'm sorry that you did. But at this point, I probably wouldn't change much. Anyone who's being sold any type of product like this, you've got to ask the person selling this product, what are the fees for this product? I'm going to look them up during the break, and when we come back, I'll let you know what they are. You're listening to Jill on Money, where we ask a lot of questions, we answer them, and we hold people accountable. If you'd like some help assessing a product, just send us a note. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. So when I looked up the F&G annuity, it said there's no fees. And I can't believe that. So I really need to see the dirty little fine print of this thing. I don't know. Okay. Since we're on the topic, here is a question from Caroline, who asks, when is an indexed universal life policy a good investment? So after the show that we did with David McKnight, Caroline, he was the guy Power of Zero, which is basically he wants to pay zero taxes. Anyway, she contacted this guy. She was referred to one of his financial advisors. After a phone meeting, he instructed me to read the book, Look Before You, LIRP, LIRP, and see, get instead of leap. And we're going to have another meeting in a week or so. He does not charge a fee for his services. I'm concerned he will be making his money by recommending an IUL. How am I to know if that's the right retirement vehicle for me? Love your show. So first of all, Caroline, why don't you ask this guy very specifically, are you held to the fiduciary standard of care? Ask that. The reason we want you to ask that is that we want to make sure that whatever this guy is, or gal, if that were the case, is recommending is in your best interest. So remember, the fiduciary standard, it's the standard of care, requires professionals to put your best interest first. Right? And if they don't put your best interest first, they have to tell you what your best interest is, and they have to disclose it, all that. So if you get a professional with a designation like CFP, CFA, CPA PFS, or CPA, they operate under the fiduciary responsibility. However, many others, maybe this guy, maybe not, many others are simply salespeople, and they can sell you a product that's suitable for you, but it may not be in your best interest. So that's the first thing I want to do is this guy held to the fiduciary standard. If not, then I might not really take what he says so seriously. And you might just sort of say, okay, next. I would be more interested in what is actually going on in your financial life so that we could see whether this is actually a good idea for you or not. This is something that we can do pretty easily, but it might be really kind of fun for us to see exactly what he's looking at and then determine whether or not he's giving you the advice that's in your best interest. I just think that one of the problems with these index universal life policies is that they are usually loaded up with fees, and it's very hard to parse through what those fees are. And in general, what I would say is this. One of the advantages is that, you can usually get some upside with a little downside protection, but that usually does come with a fee. And so I guess the real question is, number one, do you need life insurance? That would probably be a good place to start. And if you don't, maybe this is not exactly the best plan for you. But I need more info. Let us know. We can help you out a little bit on this one. Okay? David writes, he says, this is an Ed Slott type of question, but I don't know when he's going to be on the show again. Let's see if I can do this. He's got a traditional IRA worth $450,000. And a solo 401k worth $300,000. He can roll pre-tax IRA money into and out of this account. He's in an extended period of unemployment. He does have other assets not listed, so he doesn't need this money. I'd like to get the IRA and 401k money into a Roth, but I'm confused as most of the advice about the backdoor Roth is for those in accumulation phase. Okay, so yes, if you rolled your traditional IRA into the solo 401k, okay, you do all the money that's pre-tax and you roll that all in. You can do that. You're left with $10,000 from non-deductible post-tax contributions in that old traditional IRA. That $10,000, that you can convert into a Roth. Okay? You got to pay the tax on that. Then what you could do, presumably, is that you could then slowly, at your leisure, convert whatever part of your solo 401k into a traditional IRA and then convert that into a Roth. I don't know if you can go straight from your solo 401k into the Roth. I think you're going to have to go back and forth a little bit. So that is what I think is the case. What we can do is we can send this email to Slot to make sure that that is the case. So, Mark, let's send David's email to Slot. But I'm pretty sure that that would avoid that whole pro rata rule. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that you can convert this money without having to convert all of it. And if you could do that, you'd be in sweet shape, man. That'd be good news for you. So, when we come back, more of your questions. It is Jill on Money. If you've got a something hankering and you got to figure out what to do with that information or question, go to JillOnMoney.com. Check out our resources. Check out the website. And if you're there and you still don't understand or you still have a question, just hit the Contact Us button and we would be delighted to help you out. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money, and we are broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank studios. Before we finish up the first hour of the program, let's get to a few more emails. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Eileen writes that her financial advisor is giving some advice I'd like to run by you. My husband and I both max out our employee-sponsored retirement plans. We make too much money to contribute to a Roth. Instead of contributing to a traditional IRA and foregoing the tax deduction, right? So that would be a non-deductible IRA. Our advisor has encouraged us to put any remaining savings in a joint taxable account. The reasons are, she said, we would be commingling pre- and post-tax funds, and it will be difficult later to segregate those funds. So it's better now to no longer invest in an IRA. She has us in a low dividend producing account. She likes this because it's another option to have funds available in retirement that have already been taxed. Ultimately, we will need to pay the 15% capital gains tax instead of what's at our tax bracket. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so why not do a backdoor Roth? Do you have another IRA? I guess you may have another IRA. I'm not sure about that. If you have another IRA, here's a question. If you had another IRA, what I might do is, if that money came from another IRA, maybe you don't. I'm just trying to think. Anyway, if you already have an IRA, then I think this is probably the right decision to make, because maybe this is too cumbersome to try to convert everything, and there are some rules about converting all traditional assets. But if you don't have an IRA, then I'd do a non-deductible IRA and convert it into a Roth. That's called a backdoor Roth. So ask the person if you would be a good candidate for a backdoor Roth. If not that, then as a brokerage account, sure, I think that's fine. I don't know why you would necessarily want, I see, a low dividend producing account. Yeah, so you just want a tax efficient account, and that would make sense. But just do ask that person whether you might be a candidate for a what's called a backdoor Roth. Okay? Whew. Very good. Okay, that's it for hour number 1. Stay tuned. We got a lot more questions to answer in hour number 2. You're listening to Jill on Money. During the break, why don't you hop onto the website, JillOnMoney.com, and there you can buy the book, my book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2. And we are broadcasting live from the Policy Genius Studios here in New York City, that is. Policy Genius is the easy way to compare and buy insurance. And, part of the thing that we are doing right now is we are digging out of our emails. And I promise you we will have guests. They will be coming. But Mark and I made an executive decision to address all of these emails and try to work our way out. I had wanted the goal to be caught up by the end of the first quarter, and we fell short. Let's be honest. We tried. It's just, you guys are amazing. They're fantastic questions. It's just, hard to get through it all. So we're trying. Okay? So as we plow through, if you have a financial question, we would love to hear from you. The email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com, or you can easily hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com, and you can click on the Contact Us button. Okay? Jeremy says that I love your shows. I appreciate your advice. I'm considering investing in stocks that pay dividends. The main reason is to take advantage of compounding. I've done some research. I'd like to get your advice in this area. Do you have any recommendations? My recommendation is that I don't buy individual stocks. So my recommendation is that if you like dividends and you want to try to use dividends to accumulate wealth, is that you can invest in funds that are dividend, or let's say income tilted funds. So I know that Vanguard has a dividend growth fund. But generally speaking, even if you just bought an index like the S&P 500, or you bought a small, maybe not a small company, but a mid-cap company index, a lot of these are indexes with companies that pay dividends. I'm just not a huge better on individual stocks. But make make sure that, I know exactly what you're trying to do. So if I've missed anything here, just follow up and say, no, this is my fun money, or whatever it is you are doing, okay? Patty writes that she just started listening and she really enjoys the show. She received $50,000 in an inheritance, has no idea what to do with it. Right now it's in a savings account, not earning any interest. My husband usually takes care of our retirement monies, and I don't have anything to do with those accounts. Can I just stop there for a moment? Mark's looking at me, giving me the eye. I know that it can be very easy to outsource tasks that you're not that into to your spouse. But I don't like the idea that anybody makes that proclamation, right? I don't have anything to do with my own retirement account. No. So here's the first bit of advice, Patty. That is that you tell your husband, I know that I have shown zero interest in these accounts in the past. However, it occurs to me that if you were to drop dead, I have no idea what's in there. I have no idea what the philosophy is. I have no relationship with this person who manages the money. And I would like to actually have that relationship established. So, Patty, that's number one. Really, please. And look, statistically, you're going to live longer than he is. This is going to be your problem eventually. So that's really number one. As far as the inheritance, she goes on to say, I just want to put it somewhere where it's earning some interest, but also be able to have access to it if I need it. Right now, it will be for emergencies. Any ideas? Sure. Just go to depositaccounts.com and you can put it into a high-yielding money market account and our high-yield savings account. There are a lot of them on there. Let's just go and look, Mark, because I can do that. Let's go. I just type in depositaccounts.com. And up at the top, there are different things, and I'm looking at, let's look at savings accounts? Nah, let's look at money market accounts, just for the heck of it. Look at this, money market accounts. Look, there's a whole bunch of accounts that offer 2.25%. These are pretty awesome. So that's just for safe money. At least you're earning 2%. That's great. And just make sure that you have an account that either as a money market or a savings account that you're able to earn a decent rate. Oh, look here. I just did something fun also. I went to savings account rates and I clicked on this, and there are, just 3 options right off the top that are all good options. Goldman Sachs Bank, which is giving it now through their Marcus arm, 2.25%. Barclays, 2.2%. Ally Bank, 2.2%. So these are all FDIC insured savings options. Depositaccounts.com. That's, I think, the way you want to go. So try that out, Patty. And of course, Patty, I'm sorry to say, you cannot just bail on everything else. Here is a question from somebody who doesn't give me the name. I'm going to be receiving $60,000 by 2022 from a previous employer. However, I owe the IRS $57,000 and making payments toward it. Should I use the money to pay off the IRS in a few years to prevent the interest? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, owing money to the IRS, just not fun. Okay? So let's please, let's make sure that you manage that. Don't you get nervous owing the IRS money? Randy listens to us on WCCO, Twin Cities, in Minneapolis there. Randy inherited some money, a life insurance benefit from his mother who passed away, $50,000. We want to put $10,000 into 5 different accounts for our 5 grandkids who range from ages 2 to 6. We also plan to add to this over time. We're in good shape financially. We want to create some money that they could use for college or a down payment on a home, some other financial need. In our state of Wisconsin, we know they would legally have access to the money at 18, but also plan to coordinate and advise parents as this progresses, though not to communicate it with the grandkids till they're 18, maybe later. Question: what type of investments would you recommend as we start out? What would you change as we eventually add additional money to these accounts over time? I mean, I just think that of course I love the 529 plan, so I'm really preventing myself from jumping in and saying, why do you have to use a plain old brokerage account? But I understand you want there to be more flexibility. That said, maybe you should put half the money in a 529 account for each of the kids. Because remember, 529 money, it grows without any taxation if they use it for qualified higher education expenses. So maybe if you're going to do 10,000, maybe you'd put 5 in a 529 and 5 in a mix of just a couple of index funds. That's it. A bond index, a stock index. Go from there. And that maybe we can split the difference and be more tax efficient. I bet they're going to go to college anyway. And you can always move the money between the accounts if one doesn't go to college and the other ones do. So try that on for size. Let me know what you think. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number, very easy. Phone number. That's not our phone number. I was looking at my phone for a second. I saw phone. I said phone. What I really meant to say was, don't use a phone number. Did we disconnect the phone number, Mark? I don't think so. We might still have it, but I'm not telling you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Okay? And if you've got a complicated situation, it's okay. Just kind of work it through with us, and we'll help you out. That is what Ross did. Ross says his mother is 67. She's been a widow for 25 years. She has depleted her IRA to fund her living expenses. She's got some mental challenges. Spending is not easily controlled. She's a smart person, but she knows that her spending is not sustainable, but she can't seem to rein it in. Oh, brother. She's blown through her money from selling her property and inheritance. She has a part-time job, which gives her $1,000 a month plus her Social Security check. So she has about total $2,600 a month. Previously, she was drawing on her father's Social Security. She has a house that she's going to put on the market that should net her about $500,000 after paying off the existing mortgage. She doesn't have any other savings or investments. Knowing her history with money, I am tempted to have her hold a small reserve fund in an account that requires dual authorization for withdrawals and use the rest to purchase a single premium annuity, immediate annuity, SPIA. She's got good health. Both her parents lived to 89. So this may be a case where an annuity could work. So the way a single premium immediate annuity operates is that you fork over, let's just say that this reserve fund of say $40,000 or $50,000, maybe we even put it at $100,000. She puts $400,000 into a single premium annuity, immediate annuity, and then the insurance company calculates how much money she would receive on a monthly basis. And what this will do is this will prevent her from blowing through all that money at once, which is a real concern in this case. It's sort of like the lottery winner. You know, a lottery winner would for sure have that kind of issue. So I think that this is something that might need some help with, the kids. Ross says he can't financially support his mom, and he really is that. I think he really sort of feels like this is it. So I think that this is not a bad idea, Ross, and if she, especially works best if she agrees, right? if she can, kind of be on board and say, look, we cannot let you run out of money, that would be, to me, the best case scenario. Okay? Okay. Thank you for writing. I'm sorry. That's a rotten situation. John says he's paying a student loan for his daughter, and he's been doing that since 2011. The original balance was just over $77,000. Guess what the balance is now, 8 years later? $72,000. She does get some tax benefits. Any advice? Tried to lower the payment, and based on income, it went up. We corrected. The payment is... Guy's got a great credit score. Getting rid of the debt and paying it off in a fair and equitable way. It isn't fair paying 7.75% when the interest rates in the general economy are close to zero. Well, too bad. That's where you took the loan out. And it sounds to me that, you don't have a ton of options here. I think that if you can try to get a lower, maybe you're going to have to go to the private market, but there's some risk in that. You could get a lower interest rate, but it may not be fixed. You're going to have to look into these options. It's a bad situation. You can't really complain about this. The reality is I'm not sure exactly why your daughter's not paying this off. Can your daughter pay some of this? How old is she? What does she do? Why are you on the hook for this? You're 63. He says, I can't be the only schmuck doing this. No, you're not. You're not the only schmuck doing this. But the reality is that so many people here in this world are paying off these loans. You're not the schmuck for paying it off, I guess. That you're the schmuck for maybe allowing this whole thing to happen in the first place. And I'm just so, I don't know. I'm just so worried that people are making these decisions, and there aren't so many great options. This is a bad situation. Fish around, see what you can find. There's a lot of private lenders who are looking to whether it's SoFi or Common Bond or any of these organizations, you may find that there are better options. But, the original sin is taking out $70,000 of debt for whatever she was doing and not having her on the hook for this and not really thinking it through. But you can't go back and change that original sin. All right, Kevin heard me on the radio talking about timing the market. I finished your book, and I'm going to write a review. By the way, everyone write a review of the book if you read it. If you haven't read it, don't write a review. So he says, I enjoyed the anecdotes you used to convey ideas, especially the personal ones. It makes you vulnerable and sincere. Here are a couple of ours. My wife and I rented before we bought. We continued to rent our primary residence once we bought our second home. Our plan was and is to use the country house as a vacation home, which we have, retire there when the time comes. No trips to Bahamas for us. For the cost of an annual vacation, we paid off the mortgage, maintained a second home with the idea in mind that we'll retire there mortgage-free. Great. Anyway, they paid it off sooner than they had to. Years later, they took on a second on the property, used the money as a down payment on our primary residence. A little risky. It's all gone according to plan. There's only a $10,000 outstanding balance left on the second home. At 66 years old, we can retire there in a year, live comfortably on our Social Security. Or, he says, I can work forever and become absolutely stinking rich. Was it a good idea that others can benefit from? Yeah, sure. But it won't work for everybody. And there's a certain amount of risk with this. And you left out kind of how much you make and all that kind of fun stuff. So his wife's retired, not collecting Social Security. He's working, but he is receiving Social Security. The kicker is she's allowed to draw 50% of the value of his monthly benefit without affecting what he receives, and allows her benefit to grow until she decides to apply for retirement benefits. Were these good choices? Yes. Why is the Social Security benefit idea a government secret? It's not exactly a secret. It's just a little bit more cumbersome for people, and more to the point, I know that this sounds nutty, but a lot of people don't have choices. they can't afford to not take their benefits. And so that's something that we will have to take into account. I know you really want everyone to do this, but it's not always the case. So all that being said, you're in great shape. Thank you for writing. I love when people share their stories. It's fantastic. And if you've got a financial question, give us a holler. Easiest way to get in touch with us is to send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And of course, the book is The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. That's it. All right. Okie doke. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. When we return, we're going to plow through the rest of these emails that have been piling up. It's Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, maybe it's a career question, anything like that, give us a shout. I'd love to hear from you. The email address is askjill@JillOnMoney.com. And give us lots of detail. We'll try to help you out, okay? So let's go to the next set of questions here. We're still stuck in February, I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to plowing through February to get through these questions. David writes that his wife and he have 35 stocks and 3 mutual funds. That's a lot of stuff to keep track of, but okay. They're going to both be retired in 3 months. They're going to have about $1 million is basically what they're going to say in retirement. What's wrong with massive stock selling, replacing with simple ETFs or a mutual fund? What is wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it. You're going to have to pay, if it's inside of a retirement account, sell those stocks immediately. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the issue is he gets advice that he shouldn't do that. But of course, I like selling stocks. And the only reason not to sell it is if you were outside of a retirement account and then there was maybe a big capital gain. Maybe that would be some reason why someone told you not to. Anyway, I would liquidate and reallocate and certainly get more diversification, whether it's index mutual fund or exchange traded fund. So I think that what would be helpful for me is that you'd be sort of out on a limb if you're retiring and it sounds like you're all in the market, and that makes me slightly nervous on your behalf. So, right now he mentions 2 different funds. Of the 2 funds, one's a small cap fund. One is a Vanguard, looks like a dividend growth fund. I don't see any safety in here. I don't see anything in here that will help cushion the blow if there's a big sell-off. So I think you need more broad diversification. And I think that, you seem to only own stocks, which is pretty dangerous as you approach retirement. Even if you're not going to draw on the money, you're going to have to eventually pull some of this money out for required distributions. I would really be, just be careful, okay? Speaking about being careful, Herb writes that he's 81. He's got Social Security and pension, and along with his required minimum distributions, he meets his expenses. So that's good. He's got $500,000, and he says, I don't wish to take any risk. And he says, I'm considering investing $100,000 in street shares. So this is a veteran business bonds. So basically, this is a way to put money into a fund that provides loans to veteran-owned businesses, and you would get a flat rate. It says 5% interest. You can access your money, but you can only do so for a 1% fee and then after 1 year, you can withdraw with no fee or keep your money at work. So there is risk in this, obviously, because you don't earn 5% if there's no risk. And so I think that if I were looking at this, if you have $500,000 in investments and you want to try this, I don't know enough about it to give you like the thumbs up or the thumbs down. What I can say is this: if I were looking at some riskier than usual investment in a portfolio of $500,000, what I would say is you should try to limit that riskier than usual investment to more like 5% of the total invested value. That's what I would do. And if you can do that, then I think that, and I feel a little bit better about it. So if there was 25,000, like why start with 100? Why not start with, this is not a big thing, maybe 10,000. And if things go well, you leave it in there. But you don't get 5% with no risk. That's when you essentially, are comparing it with, say, 2%. So I think that, to me, that would be the best option. Reduce the amount of money, okay? Kevin's parents are in their 70s. They've refused to discuss their estate planning or long-term care with him or with his siblings. All they've said that there should be a little something left over for you to share. How should I prepare for this potentially stressful situation? I don't think you can. You already tried. If they're not going to tell you, they're not going to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you. And there's not a lot of good in, worrying about it because there's just nothing for you to do. And that's something that is a bummer, but be that as it may, that's their choice. And hopefully you will be able to get some information out of them. Maybe, every so often you can try to nudge them. But again, I really wouldn't drive myself crazy here, because that is something that you truly cannot control. All right? Very good. Okay. We good, Mark? 1 minute to go. Can I do a quick one? Anyone here? These are a little bit long here. Okay. Here's one quick question from Helen about an annuity that's maturing, $280,000. Where should we invest the money to not lose the principal but get a stream of income for years to come? I mean, and she also says, this is my second email. I didn't get a response from the first one. When you end a sentence like that, that of course is not a great way to get you high up on the list. So there's number one sales tip. So I think that if you want to have a guaranteed stream of income, you can buy a bond ladder. You can buy a CD ladder. You can do that. You can, if you want to try to do that, that's the way you do it. And of course, if you want some income, you can, do a stock mutual fund, index fund, a bond index fund for the 401k money. But Helen, just be careful. If you want to go into another annuity, go crazy. Go for it. But just understand what the fees are and what the risk is about how tying your money up is going to affect you. Okay? Good luck. Thanks for writing. And if you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. You can go onto the website, JillOnMoney.com. Click on the Contact Us button. And while you're there, sign up for a free weekly newsletter. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of a show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Okay. let's see. We got a bunch of emails. We're rocking through this. It's all good. Okay, here's a question from Bill. He and his wife are 62, and they've got pensions and required minimum distributions from some inherited IRAs that more than cover their living and leisure needs. So they've got $850,000 in traditional IRAs, $1 million in non-IRAs investments, and $1 million in real estate. When we start taking required minimum distributions from those traditional IRAs in 8 or 9 years, we'll basically pay taxes on and put the remainder in non-IRA investments. We're both in good health. Our parents all lived into their 80s and 90s. Wow. So I think a 20-year outlook is reasonable and certainly not, though certainly not guaranteed. We plan on leaving most of our current assets to our 3 children. Should we convert a good chunk of the traditional IRA over a few years' time, or is it too big a hit at our age? I almost feel as if we should look at this with our children's ages as the deciding factor, since that's where the money's going. So keep $850,000 of IRA money now, plus keep $200,000 to pay required taxes if converted. Or bite the bullet and have $850,000 plus all future untouched earnings, all tax free to pass on. Here's a question that might be interesting. I mean, you're right. You're thinking about it in terms of your 3 kids. Is because you've got pensions and required minimum distributions, the real question is your tax bracket higher than that of your kids right now? Or maybe in the next 10 years. Maybe if you're in a higher tax bracket, don't do it. I don't know. I mean, it is possible that you're in a far higher tax bracket than your kids are in. I mean, you could do, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe do some of it. And then you can just do a little bit at a time. And that way you don't have to take everything, this big, huge hit at once. So I think I might look at this kind of as a family issue and determine where the tax hit should occur. Think about that and let me know what you think. Sean writes that, how about this? My stepmother informed me she opened an IRA in my name back in 2015. And I have about 95 shares in Apple. It's worth about $16,000, almost $17,000. Other than my pension at work, it's my only retirement savings. I would like to start contributing to the account. I'm not sure what I should do with the money in it. Move in new funds. I'm new to all of this. I'm 26. I make 60 to 70 grand a year with overtime. My father passed away in 2011. This is the money he left for me. My stepmother also put money into a brokerage account. I plan to use that for a house down payment this summer. By the way, that brokerage account, all in Apple. So whatever you're going to be using for your house down payment, please sell that immediately and get that money liquid. In terms of the IRA, absolutely, it would be great if you could do that. The one thing I should try to understand here is whether this is a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. I mean, it would be great if we would be able to have you put money into this. It's great to do. I think because of your age and what you're earning, it would be ideal if you could open a Roth IRA. And also, I would be somewhat remiss if I didn't encourage you to reallocate some of the money that was left to you in Apple stock and get diversified. I think that would be better for you. Okay. Brad writes, he loves a podcast. And if you'd like to sign up for our podcast, you can subscribe to it. Apple, Stitcher, radio.com, Google Play, anywhere else you get your favorite podcasts. Okay, so here's his question. A startup company with only a few employees at the time asked me to help them. Since they didn't have the cash to pay me, I agreed to help in exchange for stock options, not qualified stock options. So he exercises the options, and now he's got the stock in this little company. It's grown substantially, and now he's going to retire. They're privately held shares. They're not liquid. I don't have a control over the timing of a sale. How do I think about these shares as part of my retirement financial plan? So, A, sell the shares gradually. B, account for the stock as part of my net worth. C, pretend the money doesn't exist. And whatever happens, happens. He wants to lean towards part using this and adjust his retirement funds, you ready for me? You say A or B. Forget about it. Pretend this money doesn't exist. Enjoy the ride. Whatever happens, happens. There's nothing for you to do with this. I don't know what the money, how that much money that represents right now, but pretend that the company goes broke or runs out of money. And Brad, then you're not relying on it. And I think that that is the safest approach. When you have an illiquid investment, especially one over which you have zero control, then absolutely positively don't include it. Okay. Whew. All right. Do I have one more? No. Okay. I'll do this when we come back. So we're almost done with the show. I will keep writing. If we take a while to answer, it's just because the emails pile up. We do the best we can. That's why we're running through and doing all these shows. So hang with us. Stay with us. Don't worry. We're going to get to the answer to your question. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, just go to jillonmoney.com. Go there. Click the Contact Us button. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we would love to hear from you. Here's what you need to do. Just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Love getting your questions. Have you seen the website? Here's why it's so great. First of all, I say it's great because I had nothing to do with it. Mark and the Mad Russian, they did everything with it. So we're going to close out the show very shortly, but go on to jillonmoney.com. And there you can do all sorts of things. You can watch segments that I've done on TV. You can read columns that I've written or blog posts. You can listen to old shows. You can subscribe to our sister podcast. You can buy a copy of the book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. There's a whole resource tab, and you can sign up for our free newsletter, which is actually very intriguing. And you can always contact us from the website, so that's easy to do. Okay, Tom writes, someone recommended that I should lease a car and keep my investments where they are. They said it's better to let your investments grow and make money than to use the money to purchase a vehicle and watch the investment in the car depreciate. Your thoughts? It kind of depends on the type of driver you are and whether you're the kind of person who really does like to get a new car every few years. Generally speaking, when we look at car leasing versus buying, if you were to take a car lease and compare it with, say, buying a new car or a lightly used car, like maybe a year-old car, the difference is that you're right, you don't have the money working for you, but on the other hand, you're not paying the costs associated with the lease, and at the end of the term of that lease, you end up with nothing. At the end of, let's say, even if you had a car loan, you'd end up with the car itself. So if you're the type of person, say, like I am, which is you drive a car into the ground, you're not really tempted every 3 years to buy a new one, then that seems fine. It's okay to, take some money out of your account. But if you really want to buy drive a new car every few years, then leasing could be a better choice for you. All right. Thank you so much for listening. It has been a wonderful program. If you have questions, don't forget, you can always send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com or hop on the website, jillonmoney.com. Click on the Contact Us button. We are broadcasting live from the Policy Genius Studios. See you next week.